Hi there, lovelies. Welcome to video number 1 of the Successful Relationship Strategy. Today is a brief introduction on the 5 elements of the strategy, and I want to quickly give you an overview on this strategy to help you transform your relationship. I'm Emma Viglucci from metrorelationship.com, and I've created this strategy over many years of working with a lot of different couples in our private practice. We specialize in working with couples. So over time, after seeing so many clients, the patterns developed in terms of what are the 5 elements or the things, the patterns that most couples deal with, or the issues that most couples have to address. And so after seeing what plays out most of the time and what comes up for couples, I narrowed down all of that into these 5 elements that when you focus on changing each one of these, or you invest in each one of these, you create tweaks, you add strategies and tools and habits and things like that, and you address things properly with your partner, your relationship has no chance but to change and transform. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump into the 5 elements. So element number 1 is called context and mindset. Context because it kind of takes into consideration the way that you might look at things in all of the different ways that it might show up in your life, all of the different things that might influence your mindset, right? So just what is part of the way that you look at the world, your logic, your thoughts, your beliefs, which could be limiting beliefs and they get in the way, just what thought patterns you have, your ego patterns, all the different things that might play out in how do you think and look at the world that influence your relationship and your life. Okay. So within this particular element, the work that we usually do is on upgrading all of that I just said. The limiting beliefs, the thoughts, the way you look at things, and what might be getting in the way, right? And one of the things that we like to upgrade for couples is how the partners tend to look at the relationship and at their partner. So what is the expectations of a relationship, of a partner, of a long-term commitment, of a marriage, of a spouse, right? Loyalty, support, just what are the definitions of the things that are part of a relationship? How do you each look at things that contribute to the relationship? And what is your expectations? Do you look at the long-term relationship as disposable? As soon as you don't like something, you just leave? Or sure, I'll marry this person because I could just get divorced later. Right? So like that kind of approach does not invite you to really bring your best foot forward most of the time to the best of your ability, because you don't have to. You could just get out, or your partner could just get out, right? So neither of you, if you have that kind of logic or mindset or approach to your relationship, are likely to fully invest the best that you can most of the time and to really work at making it work. And work at making it work doesn't mean that it has to be challenging and hard and a drag, right? It just means investing in your relationship. So this is all part of the mindset. So you don't want to have a disposable mentality around your relationship, number 1. Number 2, your relationship is, the way I like to look at it, is your playground to practice at being the best human being that you could be. And so in the context of your relationship, you see, context, you get to experiment at becoming who you really are, at being reflected from your partner reflecting things about you so that you could tweak, play, upgrade to your heart's content, the way that serves you the most, so you could continue to become your best self. So this does not mean that you're broken, that you're lacking, that something's wrong with you, that you need help, like none of these things. We're not coming at this from a lack mentality, but instead we're coming at it from a place of we're on a human having a human experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. We're on a journey. The journey is to win at the game of life and to become our best self, to wake up to the fact that we are here by choice, that we could do the best that we can, that we can, and that we are spiritual beings having a human experience that gets lost in translation a lot of the time for a lot of people. And when we wake up to that we are eternal beings just choosing to have this particular human experience, then we could give it our best to continue to become more and more the essence of who we truly are, not this collection of habits that we are. Okay, so that was a lot. Hopefully you're still with me with that. But so as we go with this series, right, I just want to do a quick overview and an introduction. I'm going to be playing with each of the elements a little bit more, so we could keep playing in with this mindset and just what it all means and how to get better at this. Okay, how to do all the different cleanups, all the mindset cleanup, and how to embrace this journey even more. And so the relationship is a playground for us to practice. Our partner is our playmate. So you get to practice at sharing, at being nice, at being generous, at playing together, right? So that's the kind of the analogy that I like to use. And how do we become the best playmates that we possibly can? So that's a relationship enrichment mindset that I like to offer in a nutshell. We're going to go deeper into this as we go in this series. And in this particular element, we also have ownership and boundaries. So all kinds of goodies on this. And I most likely will do a separate series on boundaries because that in and of itself is like a game changer. So if you're interested in hearing about that, please put a comment and say, yes, boundaries, please. So I know that you're interested and we could take care of that sooner than later. And in the meantime, if you're liking this content or if this is content that you love to hear and learn more about, please subscribe and please give us a thumbs up so that I know what you like and I can keep putting more content out like that to serve you. Okay. So that was element 1. Now, element 2 is communication and alignment. So with this one, actually, let me go back to the other one first for one more second. The other piece that I wanted to say about mindset is to look at the relationship as in your partnership as being allies. A lot of people look at their partner as the enemy and they go at their partner as if they are the enemy, right? Instead of giving grace, giving the benefit of the doubt, working together, being on the same team, right? So notice that in and of itself, if you do that little shift, the mindset shift right there, most of the things align, most of the things kind of shift in terms of how do you look at them, how do you interact, how do you flow as soon as you take that perspective on, and everything flows through that filter when you interact with your partner and how do you look at your relationship. And that's just a tiny little taste, right? So let's see as we go, you have more and more shifts and everything just starts looking very different and being very different. Okay, so now for real, element number 2, this is, like I said, communication in alignment. What this one has to do is with just learning how to communicate better with your partner. Partners are different people, different brains, usually different genders, not all the time, obviously. But even when you're the same gender, your energies are still opposite energies. And therefore, you're very likely to butt heads and not understand each other when you're communicating. And you get tripped up. And so what we want to do with this particular element is get all of the communication tools and all of the communication skills and all of the communication hacks. Okay. So again, as we go through this series, when we play with element 2, I'm going to be hooking you up with all kinds of things around that. But for now, the main thing to keep in mind is that you don't have to agree on everything. Partners get hung up on that. We have to agree. And you try to convince your partner of your perspective or your side or your point of view, right? And you're trying to shove your side of the story down their throat. That is not a good approach to relationship building here. The main thing to do with the communication element is to understand each other. That's what it boils down to. So if you can show your partner that you understand them and communicate in a way that they could understand you, then you're ahead of the game. So with this particular one, what you want to do is safeguard or protect your communication. So don't do drive-by communicating, addressing like a big thing on the go as you're making dinner and you just walk by each other and you drop a bomb on something that you like, don't like, or you want to address, or a big topic. You're not going to synchronize. You're not going to get on the same page that easily, right? So the main point of communication is to get on the same page, not necessarily to agree, but to understand each other. And then what do we do if we disagree, right? How do we get on the same page even if we're not agreeing? And how do we move from there? How do we make better decisions? How do we make choices? How do we take care of things? How do we resolve conflict? How do we apologize? There's all kinds of things in here. And so the first thing that I want to offer you is, I'm sorry if you're hearing my doggy tippy tapping around me here. So the main thing that we want to do here is protect big conversations. So don't just drive by, address something, but rather set time for it. And don't call it, let's talk about our relationship. That's like, it feels like the kiss of death, right? But instead, invite your partner. It's like, can we chat later about this thing? Or I was thinking about something. Can we set some time aside to address it? Or I just want to share some thoughts. So I have some things that I want to share with you, right? So make it nice and light and inviting and reassuring, so your partner's not freaking out while they're waiting for this conversation, right? And the conversation is not about beating on your partner or being critical or complaining or whining about all of the things. It's about expressing how do you feel, what's going on for you, what do you need. So you're going to speak about yourself now, about how they suck. Okay, so then they're more likely to be open to future conversations if they know they're not coming to get beat up, right? Your partner wants to please you, usually. And so they'll be more than happy to hear what's happening for you and see how they could fix it or address it or get on the same page on whatever it is with you. Okay, so that was element 2. Element 3 is clarity and dynamics. Now, clarity has to do with understanding the dynamics, understanding how things are playing out in your relationship. Why are triggers that are happening? Why you guys are reacting or having defensive moments or defensive reactions, right? And so you get some clarity around that, how things play out, and you clarify your dynamics. So when I do this, you respond like this. When you respond this way, it triggers me like this, and I act this way, which triggers you some more, and you react like that some more, which triggers me some more, and we have a loop. Right? So hopefully that makes sense. But that's how we get stuck in repeating patterns in our relationship that don't serve us and keep triggering us, and then we create a dissatisfying relationship. So with this element, our job is to understand what our triggers are, understand what our defense mechanisms are, understand how we show up in a way that then triggers our partner and their wounds and their things. And then that the way that they respond to their triggers is exactly what triggers us right back, right? And the way that we react to it triggers them right back. And how do we create our loop? And then how to change our loop, right? So that's the work that gets done in this particular element. And so as we go, I will show you how to identify triggers, how to identify defense mechanisms, ego patterns, just all the patterns, all the bad habits that we might have that get in the way, and how to change all of that. And also, how do you change that cycle? So then how to get those triggers addressed differently, how you change your responses, How do you invite your partner to give you different responses? How do you respond differently to them, right? And so you start changing the dynamics and the patterns, but not just behaviorally and in the interactions, but also what do we need to do a little deeper with the healing and reprogramming, so that then you don't have to work so hard in the moments when you get mad or triggered and you guys are in an argument and it doesn't have to escalate. You could nip it in the bud, one, and two, you could actually be preventative. When you're doing that healing and reprogramming, you become less and less triggerable, you see. So that's what this particular element is about. And for now, what I want you to do is to identify what are the things that trigger you, right? So what's the patterns? What keeps coming up for you? What might be driving those patterns? Like, what are the things that kind of are unresolved for you? How do you tend to react? So see if you can start paying attention to how things are. And then when we play with this element, we'll work on that reprogramming and that changing of the dynamics in the loop. Okay, so that was element number 3. Element number 4 is more of the fun one. This is connection and intimacy. Now, with this one, we work on creating all of the richness and nurturing and awesomeness and fun and passion and physical and non-physical connection and all of the fun things in our relationship. So this is where when couples think about how you make your relationship better, this is usually what people think about. How to create more fun, how do you get along, doing fun things, connecting more deeply, just having deeper conversations, right? Like all that kind of stuff. Notice I also say communication a couple of times in there. So that element is also very important. Actually, they're all important. I don't have a favorite, because like if you don't have a good mindset, everything else gets messed up. And that's why we usually start with mindsets, right? And then how do you communicate better? And then how do you address the triggers? And then now this, right? So they kind of build on each other, even though they're not so discrete in and of themselves, and they're not so linear. They kind of build on each other. They overlap a little bit. And I like to look at this as a circle, like a spiral. So like you keep going around, right? And you keep getting more and more deeper into creating awesomeness. And you keep coming back around. So you keep getting better at them. So you don't have to do 1 and you're done, 2 and you're done, 3 and you're done. You tackle 1 and you go to 2 and 3, but as you're going, you're still touching on 1 and on 2 and on 3. You see, you're kind of working on them all at the same time. And so you could focus on one, but you still kind of have the other ones at the top of mind, and they kind of all integrate at the end of the day. Okay, that was just a little side note there. But so with this particular element, what we want to do is make it as simple as possible to invest in our relationship, in that connection. And if we don't invest in it, and we don't nurture the relationship, it's like a plant in your garden that you don't water, and it's going to wither and die, right? So our relationship needs nurturing. It needs watering. And so we want to make that as easy as possible. We don't want to work so hard at creating connection, right? That just kind of defeats the purpose. That doesn't feel or sound fun. So what we want to do is, how do we make that as simple and as easy and as fun and as light as possible? And one of the ways that I came up with to help with this is to create connection habits. So you add times throughout the day to connect with your partner in different ways, it's different habits, so that it's part of your routine, it's part of your flow. So then you're working at the relationship, you're investing in connecting without working so hard at it. It's kind of built in. And so you take care of it without having to focus on that too much and working too hard at it. And you're ongoingly working on your connection without having to work on it. All right, so hopefully that made sense. So for now, I want you to start thinking about, okay, so what's the status of our connection? How are we doing with our connection? What kind of connection habits might we already have? How do we usually connect? How much do we touch base throughout the day? When do we usually connect? What does that look like? How do we attempt connecting or being connected, or our connection? Does he or she initiate? Do I initiate? What does that look like? How are each other's attempts recognized and received by the other, right? Do we actually engage? How deeply do we go? Do we feel good after it, or do we usually end up fighting? right? So just kind of start paying attention to how it plays out for you. And they start making a list of like, oh, what is my definition of connection habits? What kind of habits do we have around connection? And see if you can start identifying what you do and start brainstorming of things that you might want to add, and you can start playing with that. Okay, so that was number 4. Now, element number 5 is collaboration and partnership. So what this one has to do is with how do you work together at the business of life? How do you create a joint life? How do you make your home, your life, your careers, like all of your things integrate easily, flow easily? How do you have each other's back? How do you support each other? And how do you make life easy and create the life that you want together? Okay, it's all order, I know. But by the time you get to this one, if you've been doing the work with all the other ones, this is like so fun and so easy. And this is like where you get so much rewards because you're doing very practical things. The main thing to keep in mind with this one is to have a divide and conquer mentality. A lot of times partners try to do everything together, and that just is a big flop because it's not very efficient. And also they might get on each other's nerves because they have very different stylistic approach and ways of doing things. So if something is your strength, by all means take that on. If something is your partner's strength, by all means they should take it on. And then there are ways to stay in connection, in the know, in the how, systems and things, different things to put in place so you have a good collaboration that is seamless, and you stay current, and you make it all work, and you take care of business as easily as possible, and you actually have time to enjoy your life, and you don't have to work so hard at your life. So that's element number 5. So let me do a quick summary of all 5, a quick review, and recap what I want you to do for each one, okay? So number 1 was context and mindset. For that one, I want you to keep in mind, kind of assess, stay attuned to what are all your expectations? How do you look at things? What is your filter that you usually run your relationship and your partner through? Are you looking for all the bad stuff, right? Are you looking for the other shoe to drop? What are your expectations, your definitions of things? And see if you could start cleaning them up to embrace more of a relationship enrichment mind style, and that you're allies, not enemies, in a nutshell. Okay, so that was number 1. Number 2, connection and alignment. With this one, you're going to start paying attention to how you communicate. You don't have to agree. Are you a good listener? Does your partner listen? How do you do talking and communication in addressing relationship things? And for now, see if you could start asking in a light way to have the conversations that you want to have, to touch base on the things that you want to touch base on, just to start seeing what are some of the things that you want to play with as we go, okay? And then the third one is clarity and dynamics. So with this one, you can start paying attention to your trigger, your partner's trigger, how you guys react, how you trigger each other some more, how your loop gets created, what are your repeating patterns, right? And you're going to start paying attention to that, and how can you start communicating about them a little bit differently, addressing stuff from your side, not in terms of your partner sucks. And that's also part of the communication one. And just kind of seeing what are the patterns and what can you start doing differently about them, right? So easy does it for now. And the main thing here is to soothe ourselves so we're not so reactive and not so triggerable, right? So what do we need and how do we go about taking care of that? Number 4 is connection and intimacy. And with this one, we are going to just kind of check out, like, what are our connection habits? How much do we connect? When do we connect? How do we go about that? And start kind of taking stock of how that plays out for you in your relationship, what you might want to tweak, what's your repertoire, what do you want to add to your repertoire? So kind of start playing around with that. And then with the last one, collaboration and partnership, it starts sifting through all of your to-dos, all of your responsibilities, who's doing what, who's not doing what, how are things playing out? Are you creating your life vision? Do you have one? Right? And so start taking stock of how do we collaborate? Is this working? What's not working? And start taking more of an approach of divide and conquer. Like, what are my things? What are your things? What needs to be tweaked there? Okay, so hopefully all of that made sense. those 5 elements, super powerful. Once you start digging into each one and really getting into the nuance of each one of these with all of the skills and all of the tools and all of the hacks, I'm telling you, you create some amazing awesomeness. All right, so hopefully you'll enjoy that. Feel free to leave me a comment below if you have any questions about the elements. Which one do you think that you need the most work on? I would love to hear that. Like, which one resonated for you the most, that you're like, I need to play with that one. So let us know which element you need more support with, so then I know how to create additional content, like which element to play with the most, and just offer more content on, just to support you better. All right, so thank you so much for watching, and I will see you at the next one. Bye.